All right, welcome. Today, we're jumping into a viral investigation that puts forward a pretty explosive theory about California's homelessness crisis. The claim here is that billions of taxpayer dollars aren't just being mismanaged, they're allegedly funding a massive political scheme.
So let's just start with one single number that really kicks this whole thing off, $170,000.
According to the investigation we're breaking down today, that's how much California has supposedly spent for every single person experiencing homelessness. And that number, well, it becomes the central mystery the video tries to solve. If you're spending that much money, why does the crisis on the streets look like it's getting worse, not better? And that really sets up the first major point the investigation makes. This huge, glaring contradiction between the money going in and the results we're seeing. So the video really hammers home what it calls a core paradox. While California was pouring over $24 billion into this problem, the state's homeless population actually grew by an estimated 30,000 people. The source argues that these two things, spending going way up and the homeless population also going way up, just shouldn't be happening at the same time, right? So to figure out where all this cash was actually going, the filmmakers went straight to the source, to Venice Beach. And they just started asking people living on the streets a simple question. Have you seen any of this help? And the answers they get on camera are, well, they're pretty blunt. When one person was asked what the governor had done for them, this was the exact response they got. And this wasn't just a one-off comment. The video shows this sentiment being repeated again and again. Person after person claimed they hadn't seen a dime of the money meant to help them, which just deepens that central mystery. If the people on the street aren't getting it, then who is? The video makes a point of showing that for a lot of the people they talked to, the idea that that much money was being spent was a total shock. And that reaction is really used to drive home the investigation's main question about where the money is going. Okay, so from there, the investigation really tries to follow the money. And that leads it to this concept that it calls the homeless industrial complex. So what is this complex? Well, the video defines it as this whole network of nonprofits and developers that it claims are actually profiting from the crisis. The source points to hundreds of these nonprofits that are pulling in massive revenues. And it picks out a few to use as specific examples of what it alleges is serious mismanagement and even fraud. And the source video gets really specific with its allegations. Let's look at a few. It claims an organization called PATH spent $70 million just on salaries, with its CDO making over $300,000 a year. It also points to a federal investigation into the Weinert Center for a real estate deal where a property's price supposedly jumped by $16 million in a single week. And then there's Urban Alchemy, which is accused of billing the city for tents at a rate that the source says is more than a luxury apartment. And to really drive the point home, the video highlights that this isn't just their opinion or accusation. In the case of Urban Alchemy, the investigation reports that a judge actually described the situation using those exact words, obvious fraud. Okay, so after laying out all this alleged financial mismanagement, the whole narrative of the investigation takes a huge turn. This is where the source introduces its most dramatic claim by far. The people who made the videos say they were contacted by someone from inside the system, a whistleblower, who came forward with a pretty shocking claim about what some of these homeless facilities are really for. And get this, according to this whistleblower, as much as 60% of the people in some of these shelters are not homeless U.S. citizens at all. They're allegedly undocumented migrants. This is really the bombshell claim of the entire piece. The source video then dives deeper into what this whistleblower allegedly told them. They claim the shelters are just a front, that some residents are well-dressed and driving luxury cars, and that facilities are put on lockdown to keep federal agents like ICE from getting inside. The investigation also points to a California law that it says makes it a crime for these shelters to even ask about a person's citizenship status. So, okay, if that's the what, the next logical question is why? What could possibly be the motive for creating a system like this? And the entire theory the video presents for a motive, well, it all comes down to this one simple fact about how the U.S. Census works. So the video basically lays out a four-step argument for how this all supposedly works. It alleges the whole thing is a political strategy. You use federally funded homeless services to attract and house non-citizens, which then pumps up California's official population numbers for the census. And the ultimate goal, according to this theory, to hold on to the state's political power and its number of electoral votes, which is actually projected to lose because of population decline. All right, so let's get to the conclusion. How does the investigation wrap all of this up and tie these different threads together?
So in the end, the video's conclusion is that this isn't just about bad management or waste. It frames the whole situation as a deliberate scheme, a political operation. It argues that the homeless crisis is just the cover story and that the real purpose is to import people to hold on to political power, which ends up hurting both taxpayers and homeless U.S. citizens.
So, when you take a step back, the source video presents this really provocative, really detailed narrative. It weaves together everything from on-the-street interviews to financial documents and a whistleblower's testimony. And it leaves you, the viewer, to grapple with some pretty serious claims and to think about what they might mean for a crisis that's affecting hundreds of thousands of lives.